I spent years watching the greatest golfers in history, and something never made sense to me. They all had different swings, different styles, different ways of playing the game, but the ball kept doing exactly what they wanted, every time. It took me a long time to understand why. And when I finally saw it, the list of truly great players became very short, much shorter than people think. I used to think it was about timing. Catch the right feeling, find the rhythm, and hope it shows up when you need it. But the more I watched, the less that made sense. Because I kept seeing the same thing happen. A player would hit a beautiful shot, and the next one, completely different. Same swing, same intention, different result. And you could see it in their face. That small hesitation, that quiet doubt before they pulled the trigger again. I've felt that myself. Standing over the ball, knowing what I wanted to do, but not knowing if it would actually happen. That's when I realized, this game doesn't forgive uncertainty. It exposes it. There were only a few players who didn't seem to have that problem. Not sometimes, all the time. They didn't look for the swing. They didn't chase the feeling. They stood there, and everything was already decided. The ball wasn't a question. It was an answer. The first time I really saw that clearly was watching Ben Hogan. Not in person. You didn't need to. You could see it just by slowing it down in your mind. The way the club moved, the way it returned to the ball. Nothing was left to chance. Most players hit good shots when everything lines up. Good rhythm, good timing, a good day. Hogan wasn't built like that. Even when things weren't perfect, the result barely moved. That's not talent. That's design. He didn't just hit a fade. He owned it. Every start line, every curve, it was already decided before he even took the club back. And when you reach that point, the game gets very quiet. You're not reacting anymore. You're not hoping. You're not searching mid-round for something that disappeared. You already have it, and that changes everything. But here's the part that took me longer to understand. Control doesn't always look like that, because the next player I studied looked like he wasn't controlling anything at all, and somehow he had just as much command over the ball. And the first time you watch Sam Snead, it almost doesn't make sense. There's no tension in it, no visible effort, no sign that he's trying to control anything. The club just moves, back, through, and the ball takes off like it already knew where it was going. I remember staring at it, trying to figure out where the control was hiding. With Hogan, you could see it, you could trace it. With Snead, it felt like it wasn't there at all. But that wasn't true. It was just quieter. He wasn't building the swing piece by piece. He wasn't holding positions. He wasn't forcing the club into place. He trusted the motion, completely. And that kind of trust doesn't show up the way mechanics do. You don't see it in still frames. You feel it in the flow. When pressure starts to build, most players change. They guide the ball. They tighten up. They try to make something happen. Snead didn't. His tempo stayed the same, like nothing around him had changed. That's not a decision you make in the moment. That's something you've built, long before the moment ever arrives. I didn't have that. My swing came from understanding, from taking things apart and putting them back together until they held. Snead didn't seem to need any of that, and in a way, that made what he did even harder to explain. Because when something looks effortless, people assume it's simple. It isn't. There's a level underneath that most players never reach. He always knew where the club was, even when it didn't look like he was thinking about it. And that's what allowed him to stay relaxed when everyone else couldn't. Hogan showed me something important. He showed me how to control a swing. Snead showed me something different. He showed me how to trust it. And once you see both of those, you start to realize something. Control doesn't have just one shape. But then, there's another layer to the game. One that has nothing to do with how the swing looks or how it feels. It has to do with what you decide before the club ever moves. And that's where Jack Nicklaus changes everything. When you watch Jack Nicklaus closely, something feels different. The swing is solid, no question about that. But it's not the first thing you notice. What stands out happens before he even moves. The way he looks at the hole, the way he stands there, just a little longer than everyone else. Like he's already played the shot before it exists. Most players think about execution. How to hit it, how to shape it, how to make it work. Nicklaus thought about something else. What not to do. That sounds simple until you realize how rare it is. A lot of great players don't lose because they can't hit the shot. They lose because they choose the wrong one. Wrong moment, wrong risk, wrong decision that no swing can fix. Nicklaus didn't make those mistakes, or at least not the dangerous ones. I remember watching that final round at Augusta, 1986. By then, he wasn't the longest hitter anymore. There were younger players, stronger players, players with better swings. Didn't matter. He didn't chase anything early, didn't panic when others started making moves. He stayed right where he needed to be, waiting. And then, when the tournament reached that point, that quiet edge where everything can fall apart, he stepped in. Not more, not less. Exactly what was required. That's a different kind of control. Not over the swing, over the situation. It made me realize something I hadn't fully seen before. You can hit the perfect shot and still lose control of the round. Because the decision behind the shot carries just as much weight as the swing itself. And that kind of awareness, it doesn't come from mechanics. It comes from time, from patterns, from seeing the game unfold, again and again, until nothing surprises you anymore. I never built my game that way. I stayed closer to the motion, to repeating one idea until it held together. But you couldn't ignore what he was doing, because over time, it kept producing the same result. He didn't beat the course with one great swing. He beat it with the right ones. And just when you start to think that control comes from discipline, from structure, from making the right decisions every time, you come across someone who breaks all of that. Someone who doesn't follow the rules, doesn't look right, doesn't swing the way he's supposed to, and somehow he still controls everything. That's where Lee Trevino changes the picture completely. The first time you really watch Lee Trevino, it throws you off. The setup looks wrong. The alignment feels off. The swing comes through on a path most teachers would try to fix. And yet, the ball does exactly what he wants. That's the part you can't ignore. Most players build one pattern, one shot shape, one way of seeing the course, something they can rely on over and over again. Trevino didn't stay inside one pattern. He had options, real ones. He could move the ball left, then turn around and move it right, keep it low under the wind, or send it high when he needed to. And the strange part is, he never lost control doing it. That's where most players break. The more choices you give yourself, the more room there is to miss. The more things can go wrong. But not with him. He didn't try to make the swing look right. He didn't care if it fit a system. He cared about one thing, what the ball was going to do. I remember going back to that playoff in 1971, him and Nicklaus. Two completely different ways of playing the same game. Nicklaus was structure, discipline, control through decisions. Trevino was freedom. He adapted, shot by shot, moment by moment, and somehow he trusted it. That's not easy, because when you step outside of a system, you don't have anything to fall back on. No fixed pattern, no safe answer. Just you and the shot in front of you. Most players can't live there. It's too unstable, too uncertain. But Trevino was comfortable in it. He could create the shot in the moment and commit to it like it had always been there. Watching that changed something for me. I had spent years trying to remove variables, trying to narrow everything down, until the swing became predictable. He showed me something else. Control doesn't always come from having fewer options. Sometimes, it comes from having more of them, and still knowing exactly which one to use. And when you see that up close, you start to realize something uncomfortable. The game isn't as fixed as you thought it was. But even that isn't the final layer. Because there's something that shows up when everything is on the line. Not in practice, not in calm moments. When it matters, that's where everything changes. That's where Tiger Woods separates himself from everyone else. When Tiger Woods first showed up, people saw the obvious things, the speed, the power, the distance, and for a while, that was enough. But over time, others caught up. Stronger bodies, better equipment, more players hitting it just as far. That gap closed. What didn't close was something you couldn't measure. Pressure. There's a moment in competition when everything starts to shift. You can feel it. Your rhythm changes. Your thoughts get louder. The swing you trusted doesn't feel the same anymore. Even the best players feel it. But with Tiger, that moment didn't seem to happen to him. It happened to everyone else. I remember going back to that US Open, 2000. The course was brutal. Shots had to be exact. No room for guessing. And yet, he made it look like a different game. Not because he never missed, he did. But when it mattered, he didn't hesitate. That's the difference. Pressure doesn't just affect your swing, it changes your decisions, your timing, your ability to commit. And Tiger never stepped away from it. He stayed in it, shot after shot, moment after moment. He held his line, and the longer he did that, the heavier it got for everyone else. You could see it happening, not all at once, slowly. A player misses a fairway, another one leaves a putt short, someone else changes their tempo just a little. And Tiger doesn't. That's not just control, that's presence, the kind that makes the game feel smaller for you and bigger for everyone else. Watching that made me realize something I hadn't fully understood before. I had spent my time chasing control through the swing, through repetition, through removing uncertainty. He showed me there's another place it lives, in how you respond, when everything around you starts to move. That's not something you build on the range. That's something deeper, and when you've seen it, you don't look at competition the same way again. Because now, you're not just trying to beat the course, you're trying to survive the moment. But even after all that, there's one name people don't talk about enough anymore. No flash, no noise, just something incredibly difficult to explain. Because what he did looked almost too simple, and that's exactly why it matters. I'm talking about Byron Nelson. When you go back and watch Byron Nelson, it doesn't hit you the same way at first. There's no explosion, no moment that makes you sit up and say, how did he do that? It's quieter than that. The swing is simple, direct, nothing extra. And for a long time, I didn't understand why it mattered so much. Until you start noticing what's missing, the errors. They're just not there. Not the big ones, not the small ones that creep in over time. Not the kind that show up when pressure builds and everything starts to fall apart. They don't show up. Most players, they find a rhythm for a while, a stretch where everything feels right. They ride it until something breaks. Nelson didn't look like he was chasing anything. He was repeating something that never seemed to break. You go back to that run in the mid-40s, 11 tournaments in a row. 11. That's not momentum. That's not confidence. That's something built so clean, so stable. It holds, day after day, round after round, without slipping. That kind of consistency doesn't come from adding more. It comes from removing everything that can go wrong before it even has the chance. That's what I had been chasing, without fully realizing it. Not a better swing. Not more options. Less. Less movement. Less doubt. Less that could fall apart under pressure. Nelson showed me. If you get that part right, the game doesn't have as many ways to beat you. And when you step back and look at all of them together, something becomes very clear. They didn't play the game the same way. Ben Hogan built it piece by piece. Sam Snead let it flow. Jack Nicklaus chose the right moment. Lee Trevino adapted in real time. Tiger Woods owned the pressure. Byron Nelson removed the mistakes. Different swings, different instincts, different ways of seeing the same game. But underneath all of it, there was something that never changed. They were in control, not just of the club, of the moment, of the decision, before the swing, the commitment during it, and the reaction after. That's what held everything together. That's what separated them, even when nothing else looked the same. I spent most of my life chasing that. Not trophies, not scorecards, just one thing, standing over the ball and knowing exactly what was about to happen. No guessing, no last-second adjustment, just a clear intention and emotion you trust completely. And once you've felt that, even for a moment, you realize something most people never see. Greatness was never about hitting better shots. It was about removing doubt. Because, in the end, the ball doesn't care who you are. It doesn't listen to reputation. It doesn't follow intention. It only responds to what you actually control. And the truth is, very few ever really do. There's one more thing I didn't understand, not until much later. You can study every great player, break down every swing, memorize every pattern, and still stand over the ball and feel that doubt. Because control isn't something you borrow. You don't get it from watching Ben Hogan. You don't absorb it from Tiger Woods. You can't copy it from anyone. You have to build it, slowly, quietly, through all the days when nothing feels right, through the rounds where the swing disappears and you don't know why, through the moments when you're standing there and everything in you wants to step away. That's where it starts, not in the perfect shot, in the ones you don't trust, but hit anyway. And little by little, something changes. The doubt gets smaller, the motion gets clearer, until one day, you're standing over the ball and it's quiet. No second thoughts, no hesitation. Just a line, a feeling, and a swing that follows it. That's the moment all those players were living in. Not once, not occasionally, all the time. And that's why their names never move. Because what they found wasn't temporary. It held. Under pressure, under noise, under everything that breaks most players. It held. And once you understand that, you stop asking who the greatest golfer is. Because the question changes. It becomes something else. Can you stand over the ball and know? Not hope, not guess. Know. And if you can't, then you're still chasing it, just like the rest of us. And maybe that's the part people don't want to hear. Because it sounds simple, too simple. Slow it down, take things away, trust the motion. But when you're out there, none of it feels simple. Your hands don't listen, your timing slips. The swing you trusted yesterday disappears. And now you're standing there again, looking at the same shot, and it feels different. That's where most players start searching. They add something, change something, try to fix it, in the moment, and that's where it unravels. The great ones didn't do that. They didn't rebuild under pressure. They didn't chase something new when things got uncomfortable. They stayed with what they had, even when it didn't feel perfect, especially then. That's the part that took me the longest to understand. Control isn't about feeling right. It's about staying the same when everything in you wants to change. And once that settles in, the game looks different. The noise fades, the swing quiets down, and what's left is something much simpler than people think. A decision, a commitment, a motion that follows it. That's it. No extra pieces, no last-second adjustments. Just the same thing, repeated, until there's nothing left to doubt. And when you reach that point, even for a moment, you're not reacting to the game anymore. You're shaping it. That's what those players were doing, in their own way, with their own styles, but always with the same result. The ball listened, not to who they were, not to what they'd done, but to what they controlled. And in the end, that's the only thing the game ever gives back.